As a temporarily single dad, I needed a new gaming PC for a very specific reason, and today's video is hopefully going to accomplish that. This here is my new $1,500 gaming PC build, which you definitely could follow as a $1,500 build guide if you're interested, but let's quickly go to my house so I can just explain everything. Today's video is sponsored by honestly one of my personal favorite products that launched in the last couple of months. That's of course this Corsair H150i Elite LCD AIO. Not only are you getting this standard IQ customization with the fans, high quality construction and reliability, and multiple radiator sizes to choose from like normal, but Corsair has also finally bundled in this amazing LCD screen, and this is one of those parts that will take your build to a whole new aesthetic level. Believe it or not, this is actually a 30 FPS IPS display with 24-bit colors, and it just looks so nice and clean, and you can make it show whatever you want. You can display critical system information like your CPU temperature or load percentage, you can customize the background of it with different scenes, and you can even display literally whatever photo or GIF you want on there. The possibilities are endless. Take your gaming PC to the next level with the Corsair H150i Elite LCD. Link is in the description. All right, so most of you know this already, but my wife is currently on a 6-month military trip and she has my 1-year-old Christian, but I'm here at home with my 3-year-old Antonio, hashtag single dad life. This here is where his room is, and over the last few years, he hasn't been the best sleeper, to put it lightly. I usually get my work done for ZTT, Java, or whatever else I'm doing down here in my basement, but the problem is that if Antonio wakes up on the 3rd floor, then I gotta charge up there, and as a 30-year-old with a bad back and like 0 good hips, sometimes I question if I'm even gonna make it up there. So here's where my new gaming PC build and setup comes in handy. I'm gonna be completely building a setup here in our bedroom next to the fireplace so I can both game and get some work done at 6 a.m. when I wake up before Antonio and at night when he's asleep. This way I'm really close by if he does need me because I'm right down the hall, and honestly, my wife would have never allowed a setup this obnoxious in the bedroom, but there's a new manager in charge, so this is what we're gonna be rocking until she comes home in March, and then I have no idea what I'm gonna do with the setup. So let's start building this $1,500 gaming and work PC, and after that, then we'll go back to my house and I'll give you guys a full tour of how everything is looking. So like I said, I wanted this to be a proper build guide if you're following this along at home, so I had to go with the latest and greatest. So for the CPU, I chose none other than the Intel i5-13600K. This will be my very first 13th gen installation and build, so I'm personally really excited, but for $300, you're getting 14 total cores and 20 total threads, which is just ridiculous, and honestly, it's actually pretty solid value. The motherboard that I went with is the ASRock Z690 Steel Legend. There honestly wasn't a lot that went into this decision other than I was looking for a white aesthetic ATX sized board and a DDR5 version, and this was just the cheapest one that fit into that criteria. And speaking of DDR5, this here is the T-Force Delta RGB 2x16GB kit that's clocked at 6400 megahertz. This is a beautiful and ultra fast kit of RAM, and both the performance and aesthetics match perfectly with the kind of build that I'm trying to assemble today. Next up, we have the SSD, and honestly, you probably shouldn't listen to me here and maybe upgrade it a bit. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this Team Group MP33 1TB SSD, and you know I use these all the time for my budget builds, but for a fancy $1,500 gaming PC, you probably want to use something a bit higher end, maybe a PCIe Gen 4 drive as well. I'm only using this one because I already had it in the studio, but something like the T-Force Cardia Zero Z440 or even the cheaper Z330 would be some good options as well. And for the last part of the motherboard, we have the CPU cooler. I already had this Deepcool AK620 white on hand, so it was a no-brainer to use, but honestly, I've been recommending this for other people's builds if they're doing a higher end Ryzen 7000 or Intel 13th gen air cooling setup, because this is a solid option. I do actually have my own consulting services. If you're trying to get my help for your next build, check out zackstechdrift.com/consulting for more information on that. Now we can move to the power supply, and this is the Thermaltake Tough Power GF1 850 watt. Shout out to Thermaltake for sending over this monster tier A and 80+ gold certified unit, perfect for a build like this today. I'll also be plugging in some Asia Horse white and purple cable extensions, but if you're trying to copy this at home, feel free to go with whatever color scheme you want. These new Asia Horse Pro kits look amazing with the white connectors, and honestly, you just can't go wrong with any of these options. And now it's time for the case, and this is the Antec DP505 white, and I'm really excited to use this brand new option from Antec. This case has a really unique X-shaped mesh front panel, which looks solid for airflow. It comes with 3 adjustable RGB fans in the front. It also has a pre-installed GPU sag bracket, and I love that it comes with this 3-pin fan and 3-pin ARGB hub on the back, so you can combine all of your RGB products together. Cable management is also very straightforward in a build like this, as it comes with a huge PSU basement to hide all the cables, and of course Antec has some pre-installed Velcro straps for you to use as well. I'll have a link to this case along with literally everything else I'm talking about today down in the description. Antec also sent out this Fusion 120 ARGB fan pack with all white fans. We probably don't need all of them for a build like like this, but you know I'm gonna use at least as many as I can because these look amazing and it's nice to have a little bit of extra airflow. And finally, for the last component, this here is the GPU, and for today's build, I settled on a Gigabyte Vision RTX 3070 OC, and this is actually my very first time using a Vision card before. The side profile of these is just absolutely perfect for an all-white build like this. The top and bottom aren't that great because they're silver instead of white, but this still looks great inside the build in my opinion. I actually bought this used off eBay for $375. Brand new RTX 3070s still don't make a whole lot of sense with the current pricing, especially compared to AMD's GPUs like the 6700 XT, but for $375 and for it being an all-white GPU, this was a great buy. And with that being said, here's what the entire parts list and build is looking like, and as you can see, this comes out to right around our $1,500 goal. Now, we are certainly paying some premiums here which don't 100% translate to price to performance. We're spending a ton of money to get on the latest Intel 13th gen CPU with DDR5 RAM, and you absolutely could go a bit cheaper with 12th gen and a DDR4 system, and we're also using a ton of the budget for aesthetics, but that's nothing out of the ordinary. For $1,500, it's worth noting that you definitely could squeeze out like a 6800 XT level of system, but this is how I personally wanted to make my build, and that kind of decision making and customization is why PC is the master race. And now that the PC is built, it's time to get the rest of the peripherals up here, and huge shout out to both Corsair and NZXT for the massive hookup on these. Starting with the monitor, this here is the new NZXT Canvas 25F, and I've actually never used one of these Canvas monitors before, so I was really excited to check this out. This is a 25-inch 1080p 240Hz gaming monitor, and it's absolutely gorgeous both with the display turned on and even when the display is turned off. This thing just looks great. I got the monitor stand option, but you can go with their arms if you wanted to, and there's plenty of adjustability on this thing, which you love to see. It's honestly been really fun gaming at 240Hz and only 1080p for games like Modern Warfare 2 because I'm used to gaming at 1440p with slower FPS, so this was a really fun change of pace for me. I would love to say that the transition has translated into better gameplay, but honestly, I'm still getting murked all over the map, and speaking of which, the Modern Warfare 2 maps are garbage, but don't get me started on that.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
For the other peripherals, I actually had Corsair pick these out for me, but I just have one baseline request that all of the peripherals were just minimal and wireless because as you can see, this is a tiny desk and I don't have a lot of room. For the keyboard, they sent over the K70 RGB Pro, which is a 60% mini board, and that's obviously exactly what I was looking for. I have the Speed RGB Silvers, which is a linear and fast style of switch from Cherry MX, and I love both the look and feel of this unit. For the mouse, we have the Sabre RGB Pro wireless, and again, perfect for my criteria. This is an ultra lightweight, competition grade gaming mouse that only weighs 79 grams, and these slightly oversized forward and back buttons are perfect for throwing frags and stabbing people in the back in games like Modern Warfare 2. Honestly, I don't really do a ton of that. I don't think I've had a frag or a melee kill in Call of Duty for like a decade now, but it's nice to have the buttons nonetheless. And finally, for the audio setup, we of course needed a headset so Antonio doesn't hear me gaming all night down the hallway, and Corsair sent out this HS80, which hopefully you know I'm a huge fan of already. I actually just counted it, and this is the 10th pair of HS80s that Corsair has sent me over the last year. I've used these in several videos now, and I also hooked up all of my Discord and Twitch moderators with them. I love the HS80s. This is simply my undisputed favorite gaming headset on the entire market right now, and I'm glad that I now have a pair to use up here in my room. The comfort, sound quality, and especially microphone quality of these are just fantastic, and almost every single one of my live streams where I'm using the HS80, I have someone commenting how good the microphone quality is for just a headset. Highly recommend these for sure. And because our setup is filled with Corsair products, you know we have the added benefit now of some IQ customization. Using one piece of software allows me to completely customize and tailor the RGB effects to exactly how I like them, and that comes in clutch with an overkill high-end setup like this. The setup is now 100% complete, and honestly, this has been the most fun for both gaming and working that I've had in a really, really long time. I love it up here. It's so cozy coming up here at night, turning on the fireplace, and just gaming for a bit before going to bed. If my little man needs me, I'm right down the hall for him, and also waking up at 6 a.m. to get some work done before he wakes up is a treat as well. Huge shout out to Corsair, NZXT, Antec, Team Group, Thermaltake, and Deepcool for making all of this possible. Now, this is exactly how I would build a $1,500 gaming PC and then pair it with the setup, but if you want to see how the community would build a PC, then click the video that's on the screen now, because that was a community PC part picker contest that we had, and some of you had some skill, but some of you were absolutely awful. Watch that video if you haven't already.